Hi, I'm Mike Ungerman of the Central Florida Computer Society. I installed the solar voltaic system you see in this photo on my residence in Florida in two phases between 2017 and 2019. In parts 1 through 3 of this series, we covered the technology of producing solar voltaic or PV energy from a system for individual homeowners to place on their roof or on a rack located on their property. We also looked at some resources to enable us to determine if solar electric production would be efficient and potentially affordable for our residences. Now let's start to look at how to go about obtaining a solar PV system. The acquisition of a solar PV system is likely the highest expense you will have for your residence next to the purchase of your home itself. As a result, it's necessary to prepare yourself with dealing with companies who want your business and, in some cases, are willing to do anything it takes to get you to sign on the dotted line of their contracts. This video is one of many exposés investigating the shady tactics of some of them. So, let the buyer beware. Let's take a look at a few resources that can assist you in being a smart buyer. And these are sites that I've used previously in our presentation: the U.S. Department of Energy, Google's Project Sunroof, and I'm going to show you also Solar United Neighbors, a not-for-profit organization that assists with the acquisition of solar PV. Let's start with the Department of Energy, Homeowner's Guide to Going Solar. Very good site, lots of information. I have drilled down onto the actual homeowner's guide. Very good video, which I won't play now. You can take a look at it yourself. That gives you an overview and covers a lot of topics that we've already looked at. How does it work? Is your home suitable? With links to some of the resources and tools that we've done, even if you want to try installing solar for yourself. And down at the bottom of this link, we have where can I find other resources about going solar. I've opened it up, and there's a residential consumer guide to solar power, which I will go to. It's put out by the Solar Energy Industries Association. It's a PDF guide, very comprehensive, up to date, March 2022. Table of contents shows, again, it's looking at a lot of the subjects, some of which we looked at, some we haven't yet. Different options for obtaining it through purchase, lease, or what's called a PPA, a power purchase agreement, taking care of your system, knowing your system, and some key questions to ask before entering into agreement, which again, let the buyer beware. So we'll scroll down through some of them fairly quickly. They do go into some of the ways that we can obtain solar, which may be a subject of one of our future presentations, where we'll actually go into, should you lease, should you get into a power purchase agreement, should you buy it outright? Knowing your system, and we've taken a look at that previously as well. Looking at how you're compensated for excess electricity, which would be net metering. Understanding the terms of your agreement. Guarantees, very important to understand what is actually guaranteed and what's just part of an estimate. And probably one of the biggest ones is what happens if the company goes under? So, very comprehensive list of questions. These questions should be asked and either investigated yourself or asked of the sales representative when they come to talk to you. Perhaps not in this order, but eventually you want to make sure everything is covered. Very comprehensive list of questions going on for 2 pages, and then working out differences with them. So just with the basic homeowner's guide and then the residential guide that we're looking at now, it can fill in a lot of the gaps that we've looked at previously. Now let's look at the Solar United Neighbors, which is a nonprofit organization that I've mentioned previously. This is how we got our solar system, which you see here on the roof behind me. They are the organization that sponsors and coordinates solar cooperatives. It's not necessary to be in a cooperative to save money, but across the board, they'll get competitive bids. They'll pick a winner, and you can save probably in the range of 20%. And then they talk about joining a solar co-op and going solar on your own. So if you click Go Solar on Your Own, they will, if you become a member, but you can call them initially and get some help, but it's not, they'll take donations and you can become a member. And they'll answer your questions either by email or by telephone. They will assign a representative to answer one-on-one questions as you go through the process. They'll help you find reputable installers, especially if they're not in a co-op, but perhaps a co-op has been recently run in your area, and they can tell you who the winning bidders were. And then they'll follow up with you, or you can stay in touch with them to make sure that it continues to work, continuously. And finally, Project Sunroof. We've taken a look at Google's Project Sunroof. We've looked at the home solar analysis, and they can help you then choose a provider and give you some basic guidelines for choosing a provider. So how should you choose in terms of basic is, what is their experience? What is their customer rating? What is their workmanship in terms of licenses, photos of completed jobs, getting their quotes, make sure they list out all of the estimated costs with projected savings, system installation, maintenance costs, listing all the components by make and model so that you can, if you wish, look up the individual components yourself and find out what their specifications are and perhaps suggest alternatives. Timing to see what the average wait time is for an installation, and then when they would schedule and the various different steps. And again, guarantees. So again, 3 different sources of information which are worth spending a lot of time with if you're going to make the investment. So now we've been cautioned on dealing with the sales force of solar PV contractors, and we've reviewed 3 of the internet sites that can be of assistance in this process. In my next presentation, I'll go into more detail on evaluating the solar PV contractors themselves and relate my experience in using the nonprofit through Solar United Neighbors to purchase my system. I'll show you some of the steps we went through and some of the evaluation forms that we used in checking out who the contractors were that were providing bids.
Good morning, all. This is part 2 of my presentation on OneDrive. Well, you can always choose where your files that you create. Your computer settings include default save locations for your desktop documents, pictures, and files. If you recall, during the Windows 10 setup, you probably saw something that said, back up your files with OneDrive, telling you about the benefits of saving your files to OneDrive. And before July of 2019, that screen probably said, protect your files with OneDrive. If you click Next, you set up OneDrive as your default save location. If you click only Save Files to this PC option, you set up your PC as the default save location. So to back up your files with OneDrive, in your settings menu, you'll find under backup a choice of backup files to OneDrive. And you would need to turn that on. You have a choice at that point, either to use the file history or backing up files with OneDrive. And if you have an external drive, you can also use that as well. But that is if you're backing up to your PC. You can change your default save settings anytime. If you want to change where your files are saved by default, use the OneDrive app in settings. And you can select that from the icon and notification area. And when you click on that little cloud, you'll find you have this little applet that will show up. It says this is also where you can select automatically save your photos and videos. If you notice that if you have this box here checked where it says photos and videos, that means that OneDrive will automatically save your photos and videos to a connected from a connected camera or phone. And it also will save your screenshots if you check this box below. So if you want to set where your files are saved, when you click on the top button, you'll see this applet, and you'll find that it has desktop, documents, and pictures. And you can also stop the backup if you so desire. And then once you make your selections, you just click on Got It. If you want to choose what files are saved, you also can go in and choose those folders. You can choose the top checkbox that says make all files available, or you can go down and individually select which folders you want to do that. So it's no matter which default setting you choose, you can still select the save location you want each time you save a file. I think this is a lot of confusion with a lot of people. So when you click save for new files or save as for existing files, you can click OneDrive or this PC and then pick the folder where you save the file to. Now, on newer versions of Office 365, you have to be aware that when you bring up any of the Microsoft applications, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, if you look up in the upper right corner, you're going to see something that says autosave. Now, when autosave is turned on, it's automatically backing up that file to OneDrive. So if you want to be able to save it to another location, you need to turn this off. And then you'll find the save as option where you can save it in any location you want. But as long as that's on the default location, it's going to be OneDrive. Also, whenever you hover over the OneDrive icon in the taskbar, it will show your status that OneDrive Personal is up to date. You might need to click on the Show Hidden Icons arrow to show that particular icon. It'll be next to the notification area, either see it. And if the icon doesn't appear in the notification area, OneDrive might not be running. So you'll need to go into all apps and click on it to turn it on. So select Start, type OneDrive in the search box, and then select OneDrive in the search results. So as I said before, if you remember that other applet, if you should stop protecting a folder, that folder on your PC may suddenly look empty. This is because the desktop documents and picture folders exist both under this PC and OneDrive, which might make them easy to mix up. So when you stop protecting a folder, existing files stay in OneDrive and new files save to your PC. So whether you save by default to your computer or to OneDrive, all your files are available on your PC. The OneDrive app built into Windows 10 synchronizes your files between OneDrive and your computer so they're backed up, protected, and available on any device. You can use files on demand to free up space or to make sure files and folders are always available on your device, even when you're offline. OneDrive also comes with a web application in addition to the desktop, and the web version has a different interface. You have to sign in to your Microsoft account in order to access it. This is the main OneDrive navigation screen, which is accessed from a web browser. The navigation interface resembles File Explorer. The navigational area is similar to Windows File Explorer, where files can be dragged and dropped around, or the buttons can be used to create files to upload the existing documents to OneDrive. This is for new, upload, sync, and flow. And then as you notice on the left side, you also, when you hit the new button, you can create a new document in Word or Excel, PowerPoint, or whatever you're choosing. If you don't have access to a computer, that's not a problem. You can access OneDrive Web from any using any browser, as long as you have an internet connection. And as I said before, you can add, delete, or share files, folders. So to do so, you just sign in to your OneDrive live account, and then select the file, then click share. And you also can do it from the OneDrive folder in File Explorer. In September of 2019, Microsoft announced what they call the Personal Vault. It is a protected area in OneDrive where users can store their most important or sensitive files or photos without sacrificing the convenience of anywhere access. Personal Vault has a strong authentication method, or a second step of identity verification, which is fingerprint, face, PIN, or code sent via email or SMS. The Personal Vault, however, is not available for the Mac OS. But before you get started, it's worth noting that the free version of OneDrive and the 100 gigabyte plan restricts you to a maximum 3 files in your Personal Vault. You could add multiple files to an archive, like a zip file, and store the archive as a single file in your vault. You're limited to 3 files. With the paid version of Office 365, Personal or Office 365 Home Plan, you get the ability to store as many files as you want in your Personal Vault, up to your OneDrive storage limit, which will likely be 1 terabyte or more. If you're one that completely do not want to use OneDrive, you can disable it. In Windows 10, Windows 10 and OneDrive are sewn together tightly, so tightly, in fact, that OneDrive gets its own node in File Explorer, and the OneDrive Sync client runs automatically at startup. You don't have to use OneDrive's cloud storage. Maybe you prefer a cloud service from another provider, or perhaps you're philosophically opposed to storing files in the cloud. Regardless of the reason, if you don't want to use OneDrive, you're free to ignore it. To disable it, you do the following. When the sync client pops up asking you to sign in, just click cancel. And you can then change the OneDrive settings so that it doesn't run automatically at startup. That option does, however, leave the OneDrive icon in the navigational pane of the File Explorer. To make it disappear, you need to make a simple registry edit. The registry edit is for the more advanced user. But if you notice here on this applet, in OneDrive, in the settings, under General, store at OneDrive automatically when I sign into Windows. You just need to uncheck that box, and that will no longer allow OneDrive to be running in the background. So if you want to do a more extensive method in the OneDrive 10 or Pro or Enterprise versions, you can use group policies to make this your open local group policy editor and go to computer configuration administration templates, Windows components, OneDrive, then double click on the policy, prevent the usage of OneDrive for file storage, and set it to enable. After you restart your PC, you'll find that OneDrive icon is no longer in the navigational pane. The sync client no longer runs. On devices running Windows 10 Home, where group policies isn't available, you have to edit the registry manually. Note that this change applies to every user of the selected device. If you previously sync files to OneDrive, they remain in the local OneDrive folder, no longer linked to their cloud component. So one of the benefits of OneDrive is that it restores your data just entering a Microsoft account. You can store several different kinds of the files on OneDrive and then access them from any of your Windows PC or mobile devices. Anyone who is the owner of a Microsoft account can use it for free within 5 gigabytes of storage. It enables you to share your files with ease. Other people can visit your shared files with the link. Files on demand syncing, users can do not have to sync the entire OneDrive, but they can choose to sync the files that they are demanding. So in summary, OneDrive enables you to work closely with other Microsoft Office applications that comes with the Microsoft platform. When you launch one of these applications, it's a list of recent documents, including those saved to OneDrive. If you don't want to use OneDrive, you can always disable it.
So how does a VPN securely encrypt your connection? If you're shopping for a VPN, you'll have seen how services boast about having the best encryption and how important it is that you secure your connection using cryptography. But how do VPNs encrypt your connection, and are there different types of encryptions to choose from? VPN tunnels. To explain how VPNs encrypt your connection, we need to first look at so-called VPN tunnels. Normally, when you visit a site, you connect to a server operated by your internet service provider, which redirects you to the site you want to visit. When you use a VPN, you're rerouting your connection. Instead of going from the internet service provider's server to the site, you first go through a server operated by your VPN provider. This gives you a new IP address, which comes in handy for a number of reasons. But the VPN also performs another neat trick. It encrypts the connection from your ISP to the VPN server in what's called a tunnel. A VPN tunnel is an encrypted connection that prevents anybody else, including your ISP and the site you're visiting, from tracking you. The ISP won't be able to see the websites you're visiting, and the websites you're visiting won't be able to see your real IP address. Tunnel is a great name for it, as it works like it would if you were driving down the road. while in the open, anybody can see what you're doing and where you're going. But once you enter a tunnel, your whereabouts are anybody's guess. Of course, VPN tunnels aren't made with bricks and mortar. Instead, they're created by so-called VPN protocols, which we'll look at next. To establish a VPN tunnel, you need to use a VPN protocol, which is a piece of software that determines how a VPN talks to other machines on the network. A protocol can do a lot of different things, but most importantly, it contains information about what encryption is used and how traffic is routed through the server. As such, VPN protocols are very important, as they can determine the speed and security of your connection. There are a lot of different VPN protocols to choose from, but the best all-around one is called OpenVPN. It generally offers decent speeds while staying secure, which is of course the main reason why many people get a VPN. VPN protocols generally will give you the option of what type of encryption will be used in your tunnel, which is what we'll look at next. Encryption. VPNs keep your connection secure through encryption, which is a way to make messages unreadable by scrambling them to nonsense. To unscramble them, you need a key, a piece of code that serves as the lock for the scramble. This key, usually a mathematical formula called an algorithm, is also known as a cipher. How it works with VPNs is that your connection is encrypted when you connect to the internet, the start of the tunnel, so to speak. Once it arrives at the other end, at the VPN's server, it gets decrypted and sent along to the site you're visiting. The result is that the site sees the VPN's server IP address, and your ISP sees a stream of scrambled information. There are different types of encryption. To ensure that information stays safe, you need to use a good type of encryption, and not all are created equal. As a result, many VPN providers will boast that they offer military-grade encryption, which is just a fancy way of saying that they use the same encryption algorithm as the military. The most used encryption is the Advanced Encryption Standard, or AES for short, which comes in several variants. Each variant uses a different number of bits to encrypt its key. Longer offers more security. The most secure is AES 256, which means it uses a key of 256 bits and would take your laptop until the heat death of the universe to crack. In other words, it's pretty darn secure. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and get involved. Protecting the key. Well, it's secure except for one issue. The key itself also needs to be protected. To do so, it's usually secured using TLS, or Transport Layer Security. This technology is common across the internet and used in all kinds of technology, from cloud storage to HTTPS, a protocol you're using right now to read this web page. We know it's all very involved, but the upshot is that no intruder can crack the ciphers of a VPN tunnel. If you're using a VPN and they take security seriously, there's almost no way in which your connection can be cracked from the outside. I personally use and can highly recommend Avast's Secure Line. Just follow that link to reach the product. My thanks to Fergus O'Sullivan from ℎ𝕠𝕠𝕟 for his very informative article on this topic. You'll find the entire topic at the link listed. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.